Alright, babies, I'm gonna do a video quick. Uh, Today's video is about money isn't worth anything when you earn it. It gains value when you spend it. What can you do to earn value then? Are you with me? Money isn't worth anything when you earn it. It gains value when you spend it. What can you do to earn value then? Let's start with can we consider money as a medium? The first thing I thought of is money is like a current. It has to flow, or else it becomes stale. It becomes stale. It corrupts. Growing up, I grew up in a village, so we had a lot of. Uh, there was a lot of land, but for some reason, our village was kind of like pretentious modern, because everyone that was there had traveled somewhere and returned and built a house. It's a Lebanon thing, by the way. My village, most of them were Venezuela, Canada, Brazil. Other villages were a lot more Africa. Other villages were a lot more Asia. That's the thing about Lebanon. It's like there are like 4 million to 6 million Lebanese people here, about 4 to 5 million Syrian, and about 2 to 3 million Palestinians. So overall, our existence is extended to like a certain amount. Anyways, the idea that everyone kind of like had property, and all of them kind of like owned property from their parents' side. Like his dad was poor, but he had a lot of land. So they kind of travel, they make some money, they come, they build a house, and then they have a fuck ton of land that they don't know what to do with it. So they end up kind of like selling bits and pieces of it, and like other people, or building on it like in bits and pieces or whatever. There's this one guy, and the story behind him is that he was cheap as fuck. He wore the same pants, he wore the same belt till he died. And I don't fucking care, right? I'm kind of like that simplistic approach. I have that simplistic approach to life. Like, there's no need for you. If it works, it fucking works. If it fits, I sits, right? But the thing is, he kind of like he had three, four children, and he had a full like hill slash mountain that was under his command. Like it was his. He owned it. I remember one day, basically, when he died, the first thing that happened was his children went into kind of like drama for 2 to 3 years, and they ended up kind of like spending well, one of them spent most of the money. That's the one person that was publicly available. I think he was the one that was kind of like the spoiled one in the family, or the one that didn't actually like, well, did not, I don't know, just kind of like saw the world differently, or didn't care for the world, or whatever. But anyways, the idea behind it is like he lived his entire life just saving money, amassing land, and amassing riches, and just putting the money in the bank. And then basically he died the same way he was born. Like it did not make a difference. It kind of makes you wonder what's the point, right? And not what's the point of doing this, what's the point of like saving the money, period. I know, okay, so like I get it, you probably have to save some money for like rainy days or whatever it is. But in a way, if you need $100,000 to invest in for example, restaurants, then ultimately when you get $5,000, the ideal thing to do is kind of like, kind of figure out what kind of machinery, spend it on like more research, start highlighting, putting them in accounts somewhere, putting them as credit somewhere, right? Like you start kind of like building momentum you don't wait till you have $100,000 and you go. You kind of build momentum as you're building the money. And then money kind of like, that is a power. There's a power behind its existence. But like, once you reach $100,000, what ends up happening is you kind of like don't know what to spend it on, and as you're searching, you're spending a lot more money than you normally would, and you're buying shit that you normally wouldn't, because you're not used to managing that amount. So it's kind of like there's a thing that kind of like clicks in your head. So saving that money, putting it aside, just having it, and as you build it, has no value. And even when you spend it, if you don't know how to spend it, you're not really like having value. You're not creating value out of it, or you're not earning value from it. Because I don't know, I literally like have a friend of mine that saved up 4 months in order to buy a TV. That was it. And when I asked him what's the difference, he's like, it's bigger. And then for him, that was like 4 months worth of work extra over everything else, just for him to have like the extra thing. And it might be stupid to me, but subjective, right? Value is subjective. But for him, it was worth it. And so ultimately, he was, I don't know, he was able to like utilize for value's sake. I have other friends that basically like I have a friend of mine that goes to the gym, and every month he has like $300 basically spent on the gym. And all he does on he buys every month he buys like a bottle or two extra for the gym. I have no idea why, but for him it's necessary. Now he has like 20 to 30 bottles for some fucked up reason, and he just kind of like he's going through a testing phase of all of them because he doesn't know what to do with his money. So I feel like that also is like a part of the whole like uh, you're not actually getting value out of it. You're just kind of like finding a way, trying to convince yourself that there's value there. I don't know. The goal, this concept is standing still. Money sucks. It's useless. It's not that the goal is not to have money; is to have access to money. The goal is to be able to access money anytime you want. The goal is to be able to like uh, use money anytime you want. And so the concept of savings, kind of like was evolved to a point where people have become frozen because of it. And then so like when we're actually like what can we do to earn value? What is it that we actually like earn value? Right? What is it that you actually like which what is it that you actually like when you're doing something, where you're contributing something to the world, when you're giving something to the world, how can you actually like you can't quantify most shit. That's why we use money. It's like if I do an hour's worth of work, I gained experience. It's qualitative. And then basically on the other side of gaining experience, what I end up doing is I'm basically just on one side I gained experience, on the other side I was given money for it. And you can't consider the money as value that you earned from it. But a day or two you buy a meal with that money, that's when the value of the money is actually basically explored, actualized. That's where the value of money is actualized. And again, like I'm talking money loosely because what we do have these days is basically currency. We don't actually have money. We have currency that if you do not spend it, it's going to lose value. So like you're kind of like you're gaining a return value, and that on its own is kind of like losing its value. Unless the faster you use it, the more of its value you retain. And if you don't use it, eventually it just goes to zero, or it just goes to stupid. It's given inflation and all that shit that's happening over the past 5, 6 years. And those are these things, man. It's super funky. I watched it somewhere, somebody talking about money. It's like money is like water. You really, it has to keep moving. It has to. And as it keeps moving, it expands. It calls for more, right? Because like any way you think about it, well, it can move in both directions. Because like money could move for you to buy 12 fucking bottles of water. You only need two. Or it could move to buy you a new TV, which is giving you value, or technically considered an asset. Worst case scenario, you can sell it in the house. or it can move to invest in different businesses, or it can move to hire new people, or it can move to start a new project, or it can move to kind of like revamp the office. It could it's always that. It's the currency. Money is the way we communicate value, right? It's the simplest form of communicating value. We are able to tell and discuss the value of something by appraising it using money. And ultimately, like, notice something is of value, the actual number, the currency, the money allocated to it increases or decreases based on its value, which means money in itself inherently has no value, but it's used for appraising value, which means the same way you're actually receiving it as a form of appreciation and value. You also have to spend it, or else you kind of lose that value. Like the value you spent, you did, you lose it because you're keeping money. You're keeping it without utilizing it. And I feel that's a good video for now. What do you think? I'm doing better after I came back. Yeah.